Hi everyone and welcome back to Transcended Music Blog. My name is Roman, and as it is a yearly tradition to talk about your favorite albums of each year, and we finally reached the end of 2020, I want to talk to you about my personal top 10 albums of 2020. Starting at number 10, we're going to talk about 11th Formulae by Exhumation, which came out via Pulverized Records and Lycanthropic Chance, and kind of also slipped my attention when it came out this year. And I eventually got to know that record when writing the label introduction for Lycanthropic Chance and got massively hooked by that lo-fi death metal, that harsh lo-fi death metal production that reminds a lot of Darkthrone's Soulside Journey, and especially also those vicious vocals on this release. And apart from that, also the guitars are damn great. The entire production is damn great. It's just such a harsh and evil record, and I can highly recommend that. At number 9, we have Void Rod with Descending Pillars. That was brought to us via Everlasting Spear Records and Sentient Ruin. This band already got me convinced with their previous release, which was a split release with French Death Doomers Atavisma, but absolutely convinced me with this release now. Descending Pillars is a very devilish Death Doom sound that points a lot because of its very pounding, slow sound that kind of builds up the atmosphere with very haunting melodies and very pasting drums that also, apart from that, often draw your attention from a lot of very nice fills if the guitars step into the background. At number 8, we have Naxen's Towards the Tomb of Times. I just recently talked about that album a lot. This was brought to us via Vendetta Records. It's a pretty straightforward black metal release that especially emphasizes the guitars and also uses the guitar sounds to blend different genre sounds and also blend different black metal sounds. So you have a lot of US black metal going on this release, combining with also very traditional riffing, and apart from that also some mixtures of doom also included on this release. Apart from that also there's some playful style going on with the vocals. It's just a very great straight to the core black metal release. If you're into black metal with not a lot of embellishment going on, you should definitely get into this release. At number 7, we have Undergang's Aldrig Livet, which I probably mispronounced because I don't speak any Danish. That was brought to us via Extremely Rotten on tape, and Misaku on Oyo, which I probably also mispronounced, on vinyl. There are some problems going on with the vinyl release as far as I read, which is why I don't own any vinyl. I pre-ordered it, but I'm going to receive it anyway at some point. This is very, very, very rotten death metal from Denmark. The Denmark death metal scene is quite active anyway, but I think Undergang is kind of a core of that death metal scene. You have very dark, rotten death metal going on this release. On their previous releases, Undergang played a very rhythm-driven, rotten death metal, but on this release now, they try to include some very dark doom elements as well, which kind of also puts this release into an even nastier tone than before. This combination just makes this release sound even more putrid than before, which was kind of quite difficult, but I think the introduction of those elements also pushed the sound of this band to a next level. At number 6, we have a band that I reviewed when I still was doing written reviews, which is Terminal Nation with their last release, Holocene Extreme. That was brought to us via 20 Buck Spin. This is very politically charged death metal, hardcore combination that got me hooked, especially because on the one hand of the lyrics, because the lyrics are damn strong, and I couldn't agree more with a lot of things that are said on this release. And apart from that, also because of the tone that is delivered on this release, combining very good death metal sound with the rhythm and breaks of hardcore tone, which leads to the fact that you have a very shaking release, pushing you back and forth. And apart from that, also kind of managing the fact that on the very sensual scenes, the lyrics also switch to a very understandable tone, so that it is made sure that you definitely understand the most important messages on this release. At number 5, we're coming back to a release I also already talked about, which is Hexer's Realm of the Feathered Serpent. I originally planned to include this release into my list already because I liked it a lot before the review, but back then I kind of guessed that it's gonna be at spot 10 or 9. But after having done the V-review for this release, that got me way deeper into it than before, I changed my mind because this is an absolutely great record. I think there's nothing more to say than I already said about that record. Check out the video review if you're interested. And you have some very, again, it's just different black metal, black doom sound that is just absolutely difficult to describe. Just listening to this release, it's just damn great. At number 4, we have Afsky's Ofte drømmer mig død. This is probably going to be wrong, I'm sorry. That was brought to us via Vendetta Records. This band already convinced me a lot with their previous release that had a very atmospheric, suicidal, depressive black metal tone going on. And on their second release, this suicidal, depressive black metal tone is still present, but because of the mixture of this black metal tone with folk elements, it kind of steps into the background and you miss it a lot. When I first listened into this release, I completely missed that this is still so present. But this is a great mixture of different black metal tones, and especially those acoustic parts and the capability of transferring those acoustic riffs into the black metal riffing that is most often just added after the acoustic sequence is just damn great. The vocals are absolutely great. You have sequences here that are just gonna stick in your head forever. And if you missed this, you should definitely check this out as well. At spot number 3, we have, I'm sorry for the mispronunciation, Fluisteraars Bloem. That was brought to us via Eisenwald. And when this release came out, in the beginning, I kind of missed it. I listened into it once, I put it aside, don't ask me why, and then I re-listened this release in September or November, I guess, and I got so hooked on this release that I re-listened it, I think 4 or 5 times in a row. I have no idea, because I got so hooked on those dreamy vibes that are going on in this release. This is just a great mixture with very straightforward black metal tone, actually. However, mixed with dreamy chords and dreamy vibes and dreamy instrumentation, they just sound so damn different from everything you've heard before. And then, of course, also the melodies that are going on this release are just absolutely convincing, absolutely hooking. And of course, in the end, when the trumpet kicks in on this release, everything is just combined to such damn beautiful sound. Deciding what's gonna be spot number 1 and spot number 2 was quite difficult for me, because I had a leader for quite a long time that eventually was pushed away from the throne, unfortunately, which led to the fact that I eventually had to decide to have Lifetaker's Night Intruder on number 2. This was brought to us via Black Omega recordings on vinyl, as well as on tape via Lower Class Kids Records. And this came out in the beginning of this year, and I was absolutely crushed when I first listened to this record. This is very straightforward death grind sound. However, there's a mixture going on this release with so many different genres. You have an absolutely pressuring production. You have vocals that switch between, I have no idea how many styles. You have a damn great riffing going on this release, and drums that kind of also push this death grind sound just right into your face. If you slept on this release this year, you should definitely go check out this release. This band also brought out a new EP just recently, Pit Viper, that was also brought to us via Lower Class Kiss Records. Maybe you should check that out as well. And at number 1, we have Bloodsoaked Necrovoids, Expelled into the Unknown Depths of the Unfathomable. This is a release that came out via Iron Bonehead Productions pretty much at the end of this year. And I was anticipating this release because of the split that came out via Testimony Records on tape with Red Lord. That kind of got me hooked of the sound Bloodsoaked Necrovoid is playing, especially on that tape, and apart from that also on their demos. This is a very indistinct sound because of the fact that you kind of have a very, very harsh tone. I mean, 2020 has been pretty much a death doom year for me. I did not get into this genre before a lot, but as you can see from this list, there are some death doom releases in here. But especially the sound Bloodsoaked Necrovoid is playing is just so damn convincing because it's so gnarly, it's so disgusting, it's so nasty. You probably, or I haven't heard anything comparable. The vocals are just indistinct, growling. The guitars are sometimes just gnarly, distinct melodies. And the combination of this also with a lot of elements from other genres as well. Great riffing, great melodies, the drumming that is just absolutely dynamic. This album eventually convinced me to have it on spot number 1. This is just, I think, an album that's going to stay with me for a long time. So I hope you enjoyed my list. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments if you kind of don't understand any choices I made, or if you can also understand some of the choices I made, especially concerning the number 1, or if you see any other albums I mentioned on your number 1. And apart from that, thanks for listening, thanks for paying attention, and again, stay safe.